All right, so here we are live again, trying something new. So we're just a couple minutes behind schedule. That's okay.
Just a
We are
few
here
technical difficulties, right?
a little
It
bit. No big
happens.
deal. No big deal.
No. Mm-mm.
So
Roll
I'm
with it.
Jen Jones with Jones and Jones Realty, and we are here with Sawyer, who is a certified divorce financial analyst. She is
Awesome.
also your personal divorce guide, mediator, financial coach. You have many, many titles. So, Shell, thank you so much for hopping on so that we can chat a little bit more about divorce and marital home.
Of
So,
course. Thank you for having me. I'm
so
so
tell me,
excited.
Tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about your experience or some of these titles that you have so we can give our audience a little bit of context.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way. So I am a financial person. That is my background. I have over 20 years, I don't want to say how many, in the financial services industry. I have my master's in accounting. I worked my way up in the financial world. And I wanted to help people going through divorce. When I went through my own divorce, I felt like there was such a need. I wanted somebody to ask questions to, not an attorney, but more like financially, am I making the right decision? So I decided to do just this. So I became a certified divorce financial analyst. I like to describe it as like a CPA, but all around divorce. So financially, like what you think of as a CPA, they do the taxes. I'm doing divorce, right? So I've had taken an exam. I take all continuing ed classes around the CDFA. And then I became a mediator too, a trained mediator to help couples going through that. So my CDFA really helps me. I call it a personal divorce guide, but it helps me work one-on-one with individuals, helping them make good decisions. I for lack of a better word, I marry that with my coaching. So I'm with you the whole entire way. I offer like a package so that you have my services while you're going through divorce. I'm kind of like the person waiting on the wings, helping you, getting you ready for your meetings, getting you ready to talk to your attorney, but also looking at your finances and making those good decisions and knowing what you are worth and that what you deserve is important, so important, right?
That's one thing component missing from divorce in the court system, right? Is that attorneys are there to,
Advocate for you. I would say
advocate,
right?
right, for you, but not
Yeah.
necessarily, and you're probably there for a little bit of emotional support too. Not
Yeah.
that, a therapist is a good idea. Don't get me wrong, but
Yes,
there's these financial questions that, your divorce attorney, really can't help with. And so I think being
and
able,
really don't have the time for it.
well, I was going to say, and, pay like
Yeah.
way more money and they may not even
Okay.
have the answer. You could be, emailing them and they're like charging you by, the letter. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It feels like that sometimes,
It
but
feels like that.
yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so we're here because you had said during one of our chamber meetings that this has been a really busy time, and it
Yeah.
just reminded me that I have a lot of people in my sphere, and as someone who has gone through divorce as well as sometimes I don't want to say we suffer in silence, but we sort of, it's a very high emotional time, and we forget about ourselves as we're trying to like fight for what we think is right, and we're not really in a position to make great decisions. Maybe having someone
Emotions are high.
alongside of us, like
Yeah.
for me, I just feel like if I had someone alongside of me, there could be some things that proactive things that I could have done to maybe help the process move along.
Yeah. Somebody had once told me that, the reason why having somebody by your side, right, is so important is because it's not personal to them, right? So to you, it's personal. So it's very emotional. To me, helping you, I have a level head because that's not my life, right? It's helping you along yours. So
No, I
I
love
think
that.
that's why it's so important, because you're right. You don't make very good decisions, judgment calls when you have high anxiety, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about, people who have a marital home and sort of the process that you help them through, and, how a realtor can also help them through that process.
Yeah. So lately, as all of you guys know, and Jen could speak to it even better than I can, the market has just been, let's just say, difficult, right? Not like in the past, right? What I would always recommend to someone if they're thinking about keeping the marital home is to refinance, get the other person's name off of the mortgage. Everybody has been a little cautious with that because of the interest rates being so high. So that's like one of the issues, right, with the marital home, is trying to think through, what does that look like for you, and what's the best route for you to take for your family. Is it keeping the home, refinancing the home? Is it possibly selling, right, and getting something different? Everybody has something that's like unique to them. I would say, for the most part, women tend to be the ones that are emotionally invested in their marital home. That might be like their place of refuge. That might be where they raise their kids, or they're fearful of what is out there for them. Right? How am I going to find something? They think about just that mortgage. Like, the mortgage seems inexpensive to them. They could maybe afford the mortgage, and rents are almost the same or higher. Um, but there's so much more to the marital home than just the mortgage. So I help people look at the big picture, right? What does it cost for you to own that home? Can you do it? Are you giving up something else in order to keep this home? Is it the right move for you and your family and your children, right? So looking at all of that. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Like,
Yeah, no, it does. And I think that, when you say, I didn't even think so with my divorce, we ended up, well, it was, I don't want to say the bottom of the market, but it was pretty bottom 2012. So selling our home would mean a short sale. That's
okay,
probably
okay.
not the case nowadays, where I think it's like 50% of homeowners have 50%. 50% of homeowners have 50% equity, something like that. So
Yes.
equity is there in the homes right now. And I never would have even considered, I couldn't afford the payment, never mind the maintenance on it. So I
Mhm.
love that you brought that up, because, you know, for me, you're sort of just looking at, okay, well, I can afford that and we can make this happen. But then once you start talking about, okay, what about the maintenance on it? What about, all those things that you
The,
hadn't really
the
thought about doing?
supplies that, yeah, it makes it very expensive. Paying the sewer bill, right? Paying the
Right.
water bill regularly. Um, it can get costly. Yeah.
Yeah. And just really, thinking about, like, over the last year, 18 months or so, just listening to some homeowners talk about how their taxes have gone up significantly.
Taxes.
And
Yes.
so it's,
Everything seems to have gone up,
I
right? Yeah.
know.
Insurance, right?
Yes,
Insurance has gone up.
insurance.
Taxes have gone up. And, every utility you use, we all know about our electricity bill. That has gone up too, right? Everything
Right.
has gone up. Yeah.
No, so
Yeah.
I love that. And I think just being able to sit down and seeing the whole picture. So not just the maintenance in the house, but
Yeah.
what else, what other expenses do you have? What else do you have to think about, heating it? So maybe that's only half the year, but then what about the other half of the year? What does that look like overall? So I think that's just a
And
really
what are you
great place.
giving up, right, to keep this house? So, like, if you look at what maybe you like to travel, and if you keep the house, you might not really be able to do that because money's going to be tight, right? So, is that what you really want to do?
Right.
Is
And that you're talking about quality of life right
quality of
there.
life?
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, if you had to make a decision.
Yeah.
And so, I know that you have, passed along referrals to me of people who are in the midst of a divorce,
Yeah.
who, need some realtor
Thank you.
help. So
Thank you
tell
for
me a
taking
little
good
bit.
care of them too.
What did you say?
I said thank you for taking good care of them too.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so, when do you suggest a realtor get involved in a divorce and in the marital home?
Yeah. So normally that's going to be in my mediation services, right? I help the couple. I mediate, make good decisions together. I'm a third party neutral. Um, and we talk about, like, one of the first things that kind of gets brought up when we're talking is the home, right? It's probably, if it's not the biggest piece of your marital property, it's one of the big pieces, right? The other one being retirement, right? So most people that come to me, they're concerned about the marital home. What are my options? What can I do? And then we talk about, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep it? Does somebody want to keep the home? Are you thinking of just selling it altogether? Um, you know, in my own divorce, we sold, right, the property. It was a little too big for me to manage by myself. I couldn't imagine managing it on my own. But also, like, it was a time when, that's where we raised our family. That's where I spent time with my husband. And now that we were divorcing, I didn't want that. I couldn't imagine moving forward with my life in that home and having it, feel like all these emotions and memories are there. Right. So,
Right. I mean, we won't get into psychology of it,
no.
but just thinking about, I will for a minute, of course. But just the psychology behind it, it's like, what was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend a therapist during divorce too.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's very emotional and emotional attachment to it for sure.
And therapy is definitely needed when you're going through divorce, even if you feel like you're doing okay.
Right.
It can be a roller coaster ride. The ups and downs, not knowing what's coming around the bend.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or down that big hill, where is that hill?
Exactly.
Yeah. Therapy is important. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've worked with, from just doing a market analysis of what the home is worth
Yes.
to really better be able to make decisions. Because honestly, going on Zillow or going somewhere to be like, what's my home worth? All of that is literally AI.
Yeah.
And,
And it's usually not right. I
It's
usually
usually
start off with that number, just giving it to people, and it never comes in where Zillow's.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Yeah.
had it come in a couple times
Have
where
you? Yeah.
Zillow was spot on, but it's not typical
Yeah.
right now. It's definitely not. It wasn't typical before.
Yeah.
So being able to have that number really helps with making the decision
It
about.
does. And seeing how much equity you have in the house, right? So even if they're not sure yet what they're going to do with the home, you were right. It's spot on. That helps them make decisions, right? So equity is really that market analysis that you can provide, Jen, for my divorcing couples. The market analysis there, I think you call it a competitive market analysis,
Yeah.
right? And then taking that number that the realtor provides, making sure you both agree with it,
Right.
and then backing out how much you have left on your mortgage balance comes up with an equity number. And then we need to decide what you do with that, right? So you have some equity. Like Jen was saying, most people do have equity now because the home prices have gone up considerably. Right?
No, absolutely. And if they do decide to sell, it's a great place for me to, whether I've done that, CMA, that value piece or not, I'm still here as a resource that can help you go through the process. Now, for the most part, both parties need to be in communication with me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say with each other, but specifically with me as we get the house ready to go on the market. Maybe one person is living there, maybe not, maybe there's very, very different situations.
Yeah.
But at the
Every
end of the
divorce
day,
is unique. Every situation, right? So
It
Yeah,
is.
that's why it's
And
good to
so,
talk to people when you're just even contemplating, right?
well,
Talk to professionals like you and I.
yeah, and I think that's what prompted, you saying like, you have a lot of divorcing clients right now, and getting the referrals for you really sparked like, hey, like there might be people here on Facebook, in my sphere of influence who are going to see this and give some sort of value and say, okay, I can reach out to one or both of them just to have a conversation. It's
Mhm.
a free service that we provide, is to give you this report. And then the next step is, okay, if you do decide to sell, then it's my responsibility to, keep that open communication. What I like to pride myself on is being able to be that neutral, even if I only know one of them better than the other, or not know the other person at all. My experience has been being able to communicate equally, so that they know that, I'm not, leaning one way or the other. It's this is what we're doing, this is the goal, is to sell it, and I'm keeping you in the loop, in communication, and getting your household as quickly as possible for as much money as possible. And
Yeah.
so, we can go down the rabbit hole of, maximizing your home. It might not be something that they have the resources to do, but there are some small things that can be done to really maximize a home going on the market, even though at this point we're sort of seeing it's an interesting market right now.
I like that. Let's call it interesting. I think that's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I called it difficult because I think from my standpoint it's been difficult, but
I mean,
yeah,
so
I think
in
interesting.
me too.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I like interesting so that I can keep an open mind to any positivity that comes from the market right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Keep that open mind. I
so
like what you really just said too about
mhm.
you being like that neutral party because I see often, right, that like maybe the husband or the wife, they might know somebody that's a realtor, right? And they'll give them a market value, but the spouse doesn't necessarily know if they're neutral, right? Enough to
Correct.
give a good value, or are they, lowballing it or highballing it just based on the person that they know and
Mhm.
what their plans are, right? So I love that you're a neutral party. And so somebody really needs that so they could say this was unbiased, right? And here's what Jen came up with. So yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of take that one step further, it's reputation too.
Yeah.
You're not going to go in and lowball something and then have the other party go, oh, that's not a trustworthy person, and then they're going to tell their friends and stuff like that. It's a
Yes.
small community, that
It
we're
is.
in
It gets
here.
small. Gets really small when yeah, it
Yes,
does. Yeah. Yeah. You want to be
absolutely.
known as somebody you can know and like and trust, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Trust is the biggest word there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like
Anything
that.
else that you want to talk about? I'd love to hear a little bit more about your services, just so that as we wrap up, I'm going to just say, if you are considering, in the early stages, or maybe you're in the thick of it and you still need some additional support, or you need a realtor, please reach out to Shell or myself so that we can at least guide you as best as we can. For me, it's more about the house. For you, it's all encompassing. Definitely reach out to us, because we're here to be a resource. And, the sooner the better. So then you have a better idea of, where you are, and it definitely empowers you
Yes.
to know where you are.
Yes. So true. And I would say I offer a complimentary exploratory conversation. It's a half an hour. If you just want to talk about what you're thinking, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and just kind of talk through like, what does this look like for you, right? It might not even be in your near future, but maybe you just want some information. I'm happy to have a conversation. Um, I I think it's important, like Jen said, I think it's really important. It's empowering to have the information, right? So get as much information as you can, educate yourself. on the laws, and I don't give legal advice, but I can give you like financial advice, right? And it's not even so much of that when I do my exploratory conversation. It's just like, what can you expect, right? So we can have that discussion. But I really think that people who are prepared and they're organized can get through a divorce so much smoother. I'm going to use that word, smoother. I was going to go with easier, but it's never easy, right?
Smoother sounds good.
Smoother is probably, and with less fear, right? Because you know what is in front of you. And if you want to hire me, right, or choose to hire me, you have somebody by your side the whole way, right? So I think that helps. I wish I had that, right? And I wish I had gained some knowledge before I just jumped right into it, feet first, right? Not knowing anything about what was going to happen.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, I'm on that boat with you. I'm on that boat with you, which I think is why when you said that, I'm just like, wow. So if you're seeing your clients are increasing, there must be a trend out there. And so let's get in front of it. Let's offer resources and get on Facebook and share the information. So if you don't mind, once we're off the live, go drop your link in the comments. That would be amazing. I'll put my contact information also. And I really appreciate you coming on and fumbling through the technology with me too.
That was fun. I like being
Right.
guinea pig and yeah, you just froze there a little bit too. So it's all encompassing, right?
Right.
I appreciate you having me on this ride with you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.